We were already going to talk about three, so this makes 5 games since September of last year that are like national games, let alone whatever we don't hear about.
Okay. Now remember, these are 28-minute slots.
Okay. Can we select 10 minutes? Can you just signal me?
Oh no, I'm gonna sing at 5.
But I need to know like at 10, so I know how. Yeah.
Turn up your radio on Power Blend 99.8. To the beat. All hip hop and R&B. Let's go.
What up? It's episode 7.
Episode 7.
What's up, Lady Esquire?
Not much. I missed you.
I missed you too, man.
Yeah, it seems like forever. Seems like forever.
Ice Cold Grady Gang is in the building.
Yeah.
My man Nappy Red is in the building. Know what I mean? We here.
We are here.
We definitely here.
We are.
We definitely here, man. Like
doing some new technology stuff. Hey, something.
Huh?
I said doing some new technology stuff because we're moving up.
Moving up in the world. So listen here, y'all. I am not an attorney. I'm here to talk for you guys. I'm here to you guys have questions. You know, send them in, and I'll ask the real attorney here. So what we do, I am Ice Cold Dre the Gang, and this is the beautiful Lady Esquire.
Thank you.
So this is what we do. We give legal knowledge, right? Not legal advice.
Yes.
So it's two different things. So we don't want y'all to get them confused. And you guys are calling 470-305-1707 talking about, well, we heard the show and we need legal advice and we need you guys to represent. Because if that happens, I was already told I cannot solicit being a fake attorney, right?
Right. You can play one on TV, but
right.
That's it. That's all.
Right. So that's what I'm going to start this show up today by saying, and I want you guys to sit back and listen to what is going on. Okay? We need you to listen because we're not. Well, I'm going to say it one more time. We're giving legal knowledge.
Legal knowledge.
Not legal advice.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've already got listeners popping up in the chat, right?
I like that.
And I saw Candace. Candace, let us know if your friends are watching, your special friends, because we'd really like to shout them out. So check on that for us. Candace,
hey, Niecy, how you doing?
Candace works for a facility where she helps take care of adults with special needs, and they love our show. Wow. And they watch Legally Loaded there. And so I told her, she's not at work right now, but I told her that if the guys are watching, let us know who's watching, because we will give them a personal shout out.
Exactly.
To whoever's watching.
Thank you, Candace.
Yeah, so
Uncle Dre loves you.
So today we're going to be, first thing we're going to do, we're going to recap, because we promised people we would keep them posted on development.
Most definitely.
On cases that we have covered already. So let's just run through them real quick and see like what's going on with these different cases. So episode 2, we talked about Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
He was the young man in Texas who's convicted of stabbing an 18-year-old boy.
Because he was bullying.
Exactly.
Right.
And we know that his case has been under appeal.
Right.
So I'm just going to...
Because they're trying to like hit him hit him with some time for that, right?
It was like 30 something.
It was like 30-something years. Okay.
So we just want to keep you guys updated on that. So from what we've been able to find, there is a motion for a new trial that was submitted, and then they're waiting. It says the ruling is pending. So that means it's under consideration by the judge. Because a new trial is not just something you automatically get. There's a basis for it. So I haven't read the motion. Not sure exactly what they claim was the reasons for the new trial. I do remember there being some what we call Batson challenges, which was challenges as to who was put on the jury because there were no African Americans on that jury. And so I have a feeling that that probably has a lot to do with it. And so we're waiting to see what's going on with Carmelo Anthony.
Okay.
Then week 3, we talked about Tyron Johnson, who was shot and killed by National Guard.
Before we go any further,
Yeah.
there are people that's listening, right? Can you explain to them what a legal motion is?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So a legal motion is, it's almost like a permission slip. Like we, as attorneys, we write a motion and we say to the court, we believe that we should be allowed to do X. So in this case, we believe that Carmelo Anthony should be allowed to have a new trial. And then we say, because, and we tell our reasons. And once we tell our reasons, we then add in what we call case law, which are other cases that have some similarities or that that the same law applies to. And we show those cases to the judge and say, because other cases have already happened that show that this is how the law works, we believe that our situation is similar enough that you have to follow this. That these are, because once there's a ruling, especially from like a Supreme Court, all the judges, or all the courts below the Supreme Court are what we call bound by that ruling. So if we can find a Supreme Court ruling that says that there was something that happened that was very similar to Carmelo Anthony's case, and that something allowed a different defendant to get a new trial, then the attorneys would argue and say, because Mr. Anthony's case is so similar, the circumstances are so similar, it's just like this other defendant, therefore you must give him a new trial. And then the other side responds to that, and they tell their side of the story and tell why they believe that that law does not apply.
And that's why it's called a legal motion.
Yes, because there's motion, you're going back and forth, back and forth. And so the court considers that. Sometimes there's what we call oral arguments, meaning we show up as attorneys and we speak. Other times there are not oral arguments and you're relying on what you wrote in something we call a brief, which is our long explanation of that stuff.
So in the chat, they said, well, your husband just said they're emailing the answer of the new trial.
Right, so thank you, Tay. So that means if they're emailing it, that means that they're not going to do oral arguments. So it'll just be something they're kind of sitting around waiting. The judge will review it. Oftentimes judges have what we call legal clerks or law clerks. They're also licensed attorneys, and they're behind the scenes helping them review all of those things, loading up information. Then they kind of pass it over to the judge. So that person's doing all the research to say, all right, Tamaris' side said this, and Dre's side said this. I'm going to look it all up and see if they're telling you the truth. Are these cases that they gave you accurate? And then I'm going to pass all that to the judge for the judge to actually make the decision.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that question, and thank you for pointing that out for us today. So moving on to Tyron Johnson. He was the young man who was shot and killed July 5th by the National Guard in Memphis. And then we also learned that 3 other young people had been shot and killed by the same task force, correct? So the update on that one is that the investigation remains open. There is no public resolution, and there's still no body cam footage identified. We talked about this on episode 3, how the National Guard is not required to wear body cam, and Tyron's grandfather had brought that up to the table and said, I don't believe that my grandson was doing what you said he was doing. Show me the body cam. Because we're very used to having video. So far, nothing. on body cam, and I do believe that has to do with the fact that it was the National Guard as opposed to a local police agency who would be required to have some type of body cam going on.
Okay.
So you never know though if still video could surface from just everyday citizens, people who are there. Sometimes it comes out right away, other times they're afraid and they don't, they don't provide it as soon because they don't want to deal with retaliation.
Right.
But I would say if there's anybody out there that does have body cam or that does have video, that you happen to be in your window, you happen to be on that street that day and you happen to catch it, find a way to turn that over.
Right.
Find a way to get it into the right hands because one, it could help figure out what really happened, and two, give the family some peace of mind.
Right.
So just encouraging that. Then on week 4, we talked about Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells, that's your case that you keep up on, so like you.
I do.
Okay, tell me what's going on.
So
Nolan.
the recap of Nolan Wells is that, like we talked about deleting videos, deleting voice messages and text messages. They're never gone, right? So now, I'm so happy about what I'm about to say. You freakers thought y'all got away, and y'all didn't, because y'all are all about to go down. Because there's video footage of fighting, there's video footage of everything.
Yeah. Didn't they say, and this is not something that I fact checked, but let me ask you because you've heard this as well, that those other young people, some of the parents were actually present on the island?
Yes.
Did I hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting too.
Yes.
It's
So
really interesting to see. We'll see how that shakes out too.
how he used to say it, what basketball player used to go like this?
Elijah one. No, Matumbo.
Yeah, Matumbo finger.
Well, it'll be really interesting too because, you live here in Georgia.
Right.
I live in Michigan.
Right.
And those are the 2 states that we know have recently prosecuted parents for the actions of their children.
That's right.
So it'll be interesting to see.
I'm gonna be so happy.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
I'm gonna throw a party.
Man, listen. So the cause of death for Nolan, that still has not been released. Cause and manner of death has not been released.
So I have an issue with that, right?
Investigation remains open.
Because they're saying, like, why? Like the autopsy, right? What's going on?
Do you remember we talked about very early in the season about how there's rules that prevent prosecutors from releasing information while there's an open investigation because it could taint the investigation or hurt the investigation?
Mm-hmm.
Everything we see in this situation says that investigation is still ongoing, which is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, we would all love if they had just figured it out already. That'd be great, right? But if they haven't figured it out, the next thing we want is for at least the investigation to still be open and ongoing and them still be digging as opposed to them closing it.
Big facts,
Just so that we can all say, now we can get the autopsy information, now because the case is closed. So because that case is still ongoing, we're not going to see that information until charges are brought or the case is closed.
Right.
The investigation is closed.
And Tay also said they found racist messages from them.
And
You was right.
I told you that
right.
day.
You was
It's coming
right.
out.
It's coming on. Like that's crazy.
It's
Word
popping
right there.
out. It does.
I like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm
And take heed. Our
so glad
listeners,
they gonna get y'all.
let me just tell y'all. So, Dre is.
I've been on to Nolan
This
Wells.
is his,
Man.
Nolan Wells is his guy.
I'm trying to tell you, it's like I know him.
It's personal to you.
It's
now.
personal.
become personal to you.
It's like I know this kid, and I feel like once this go down, I promise you, I'm gonna reach out to the family myself. I'm gonna reach out to the family myself, even if we have to go there to shoot this. I promise y'all.
Yeah.
We're going. because I want
That's
to test
personal.
them.
Then they got personal refrigerator.
Yeah.
So, and I see still in the chat, they're saying that the lady that did the autopsy, they're watching her because she has a history of
Lying.
listing the wrong cause of death.
Lying.
That's great. So
Lying.
hopefully there's going to be somebody that's watching that and maybe asking for independent autopsy so that there's something to compare as well. But yeah, so we're going to keep our eye on this.
Yes.
And see what's going on with it, and we will keep following it. I want to say too, though, that like you brought up, we've talked about this. It's not gone. Your stuff's not gone. Last week we did our back to school special, right? And we talked about Snapchat and how it's gone from you. You can't get it, but it's not undiscoverable or unretrievable. And this is exactly what we're seeing here.
Yes.
Is how it is discoverable when they get subpoenas and warrants and such. So even though right now our focus in talking about Nolan is the people who we feel may be involved might be of a different tint than us. But what I'm going to say is to all of our listeners out here, everybody's stuff is still there. So this doesn't just come up when you're under investigation because you're out here doing stuff you ain't got no business doing. It's still there. It's still there. You don't want this to be the way that they
you're going to jail for all this cyberbullying, AI, made up stuff. You're going to get caught.
Oh, that foolishness.
You're going to get caught. And when you get caught, I hope I can be there and say, ha, they got you.
Right. So we got two other ones that we did on episode 5. That was Anthony Williams II and Lon Hartman. So Anthony Williams is the young man who was in Austin, Texas.
With the water bottle.
Mm-hmm. And he called 911. It appears he called 911 from his own phone. Mm-hmm. Reported that there was an armed person in the park. Officers showed up. Unfortunately, when he went to reach for his waistband, the officers opened fire, 3 of them. We do know that the update on that is all 3 of those officers are on administrative leave.
Nice.
The investigation is still open. Those officers have been on the force for between 2 to 3 years each. And so, but the investigation is ongoing.
Right.
And also additional video has been released since that time.
Right.
From the Austin Police Department and the district attorney. And there's a criminal review going on as well. Mm-hmm. So again, we don't have answers yet, but the case is still open. The investigation is still open. So that is good news for Anthony's family, that the investigation is still ongoing and it is being taken seriously. And again, all of these families, we're praying for you. Our hearts are with you. We're saying their names, you guys. We're keeping this alive. In fact, we also have a candle that's out now. Say their names 2026, because it's important to us at Legally Loaded to make sure that we're representing and we're keeping their stories alive. So we have a memorial candles that we will talk about later, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget to tell you all that. And then Lon Hartman is the young man from Auburn Hills, Michigan.
Right.
Who went to a festival.
Yes.
Went to sleep in his tent.
And they found him with his neck
slit. Lost 8 pints of blood. And luckily, he did survive. I have not heard the updates on his medical condition. It is believed that this was a hate crime. And so at this point, there's not a resolution on that one either. And the investigation does remain active, and right now there's not anything they're saying publicly about whether this was a targeted attack or not.
Right.
I know though that at the beginning they were saying that even when he couldn't speak physically, that he was blinking and giving information. He had identified and had implied that this was a racial or hate motive crime. Right. So
because if you this is my question to you, right? If someone stands over you and slits your throat, right? You have a visual of this person if they're standing over you, right?
Could be, yeah. I mean, assuming that he had an opportunity to open his eyes before, because he was sleeping, I think they said he had gone to bed early, so, but assuming that, but there's a very good chance, right?
Right.
Very good chance, and obviously something like that, you're not gonna forget it.
Not at all.
You're not gonna forget it at all.
Not at all.
So that's our really, really quick update
Right.
on the 5 cases we've talked about so far.
Mm.
So now we're gonna talk about this week's chain of tragic events, which we just found out right before we went live that it's even worse than what we thought.
Right.
But this week we want to talk about 2 individuals, Trey Reed
Yes.
and Tasia Fortune, who both were found hanging. Trey Reed passed away September 2025. Tasia just passed away August 3rd, 2026. So just days ago.
You know, all of this stuff that's happening, right?
Yeah.
With the hangings and the shootings and the killing and everything, there is going to be a lot of things going on, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be to the point of people taking law into their own hands.
I know.
And this is where it's going to get messy. So, listen, we sympathize with you, right? But do not put yourself in a situation where a riot starts because people is going to get hurt. Innocent people is going to get hurt, right?
And maybe your loved ones.
And maybe your loved
Because
ones.
if you're going out to something like that, you're not going by yourself,
Right.
right? You're taking your family, your friends,
Mm-hmm.
your childhood boys they're ride or die.
The good old
That's
boys
what
that
you're taking.
Right. So,
And someone's bound to get hurt.
right. And this is the thing, right? It don't matter what gang or what cult that you're down with. Listen, the police, their game is so big. I'm just letting you know what's going on. And you're going to lose. Because at that point and at that time and at that point, they are the judge and the jury at that moment.
Right.
So I didn't have to go to YouTube University or Google University. This is common sense.
Yeah.
So let's have common sense while we outside protesting, doing marches and everything.
Right.
Do it in order, in decent, in order, right?
Yes, absolutely. Do it by all means.
Right. You can
Speak
do
up.
it.
We're
Speak up.
speaking up.
Right.
Speak
But
up.
don't-
Use the platforms available. But yes, do
but
it
don't-
decently and
Right. Because I'm gonna tell you, YouTube University and Google University shows that that is a total violation of the law.
Yeah. So with Tasia Fortune, that was in Jackson, Mississippi.
Right. Jackson,
And
Mississippi.
she was found hanging from a tree behind a vacant home in a predominantly Black neighborhood.
Mhm.
Right? What I do want to say is the cause of death is still pending autopsy,
Mhm.
even though it may look obvious. I mean, if you're hanging from a tree, your cause of death is asphyxiation, probably. But who knows? Maybe.
You think she climbed up that high and jumped
Listen
off?
here. I was just watching a show where just last night or the night before, where a very famous comedian said at the end of the show, Black people don't hang themselves. And I tend to agree. It's just not that's not our thing. We are not trying to climb up trees and jump off. That's not our thing. Not to mention that even people who want to take their own lives would understand how much trauma that would bring to their family on top of a suicide, to know that you hung yourself from a tree representing what our culture has been through historically. It would be so insensitive. I don't see it.
I don't see that either.
But I also want to say kudos to City Councilman Ken Stokes, who requested that there be some federal assistance, and find that, and investigate whether there was foul play in this situation.
So basically, the NAACP, they have been busy this year.
They have them and every other
Organization.
Ben Crump.
So,
You need a pillow, buddy.
so I'm reading in the chat, right?
Yeah.
So basically, Tay said that they found bruises on her. So, like, how can she do that to herself, then hang herself? Like, that's crazy.
Exactly. Like, did you beat yourself? This is not thin line between love and hate. Somebody's out there beating themselves up with oranges and stockings, slamming their arms in the door, and then go jump from a tree. That is not real life. So, what's really if it's not upsetting enough to know that these hangings are occurring, that we as a community, right, are referencing them as lynchings. And because that's what it looks like to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not upsetting enough to know that they're occurring, there was 2 more this month. 2 more that have been identified and reported in the news.
There's 4 people that done hung themselves
in a year. In less than a year.
I just feel like I want to just go and hang myself from
trees.
A 50-foot
doing,
tree.
right.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's what they're telling us.
Okay.
So August 15th, there was an unidentified young black man in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Right.
He was in his 30s, found hanging from a tree in a downtown Raleigh parking lot. Nearby business video showed what happened, and according to the police chief there, and they're investigating that death as a suicide. But the victim's mother said that there were prior mental health struggles and objected to online speculation, so protected her baby as she should. So that's what was going on with that one. And then just on August 21st, which is yesterday, Demetrius Fleming, Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, and the news there reported he was a 38-year-old Fleming black man who was found hanging yesterday morning. Police Chief Lawrence Wiggins has called it an open death investigation in its infancy, and stated that investigators were not working on any fixed assumptions, which is good, and that all leads were being pursued, which we could really appreciate that.
All right, so basically, we're going back like 50 years now, right?
Pretty much.
Because
we're in a civil rights movement. We've said that before. We're in our modern day civil rights movement.
And now it's to the
and we're
point,
seeing history repeat
it's
itself.
disgusting right now. It really is. It's kind of crazy. So he survived?
Did he survive? Let's check that out. Let's find out when we go to break.
Okay.
And let everybody know when we come out, see what his status is. Because I'm not. Well, no, wait a minute. What did it say? Being pursued as. Oh, no. No final manner of death ruling has been made. So, no, he did not survive because they're looking into manner of death.
Okay.
So, sorry about that, guys. We just got that right before coming on. So,
Yeah, I'm just. I can't take this part, you know?
that's a lot.
Right.
It's a whole lot. So, that's 4 that we talked about here. That have been found hanging. We know there's more. We know there are.
Right.
Oh my goodness. One of our viewers was saying they found a little kindergartner hanging in the bathroom that he survived.
That's crazy.
So kindergartners are hanging themselves now?
That's crazy.
That's not, that we know better than that.
Right.
We know better than
That is crazy.
So, yeah. It's a
lot.
difficult topic.
It is.
The first half of our show is always so heavy because we're talking about the things that we really are facing as a community.
Right.
And I know for me, I'm always trying so hard to be fair and provide legal knowledge and information about the process
Right.
and the procedures, legal procedures. But at the same time, I'm still a person.
Right,
I'm still a
you're
person of
still a
color,
human.
and I still see what's going on out
Right.
here. And so it is difficult. They're difficult conversations to have, but we've got to have them. We've got to keep an open dialogue,
Mhm.
and we've got to keep our community informed about what's going on with this, and we've got to keep their stories alive.
Right.
So, so when we come back from break, we're going to be talking about today's tea.
I'm ready.
What's today's tea? I don't know why you're so ready. You get ready too. That makes me nervous.
Probation and parole rights.
Probation and parole rights. Did you know that we often, most of the time, anybody who's on probation or parole made a choice to be on probation or parole?
We'll be right back after these messages.
I'm Lady Esquire.
I'm Ice Cold Dre again. We are legally loaded.
And followed her down the hallway. 13 shots fired.
Just have this one commercial. Take that and put it on this side because you're leaning more to this side. That way I can hear you better. I can hear you better. Yeah, just put it on the other side. There you go.
You're Not My Real Dad is more than a book. It's proof that pain doesn't get the final word. Healing starts here. Available now on Amazon.
Here we go.
We're back.
We are back.
Ooh, I'm loud now. We're back and we are talking about today's tea. Today's tea.
Right.
So today we're talking about probation and parole rights and the rights that you waived, the rights that you waived when you make a decision that you will choose to be on probation or parole. Because you chose that.
So basically, right, when you choose that, right, you're choosing that to get out of there.
To get out of jail.
Right, to get out of jail, right?
Thank you for acknowledging that because I really was expecting the whole, I didn't choose that. I didn't
No,
decide that.
no, because
that's
you
what
just
I'm
taught me
used to.
something about, like, it's a choice, right?
Yes.
So being that it's a choice, that means that you taught that. Like, you just said that to me. I'm thinking, well, maybe maybe the courts or maybe the jail or somebody say, hey, we need this room, so we're going to give you one of these options. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that they making the options for you. So, hey, we're going to parole you because we need this room.
So that's a lot of what it is, but oftentimes, so for probation, a lot of times it's before you ever go to jail, right? Probation, because probation, parole is for people coming out of prison.
Right.
Probation is for people who haven't gone to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say it's a choice, it's a lesser of two evils, or so you think it is, right? Because we're choosing between going to jail or being on probation.
Mm-hmm.
Something has happened where you're either convicted of a crime or you're taking a plea bargain, and then after that plea bargain, you will be officially convicted of a crime. And as part of that plea or part of that sentencing, you're getting put on probation.
Right.
The alternative to that is, if you're convicted of a 30-day misdemeanor, then the alternative to that is you could go to jail for up to 30 days, right? Even when you're on probation, you always know that, what do we call it? Time hanging over our head, time on the shelf, because you're on probation. But if you violate probation, they can put you right in jail because that time is hanging. So it's a choice in the sense that you didn't want to go to jail. Therefore, you said, I'll just do probation. Now, a lot of times the length of probation is so much longer than the amount of time you would have been in jail. That doesn't mean that you could afford to go to jail. It doesn't mean you could afford to not go to work for 30 days, 60 days, 120 days. So probation might feel like your only option, right? But nevertheless, it's a choice between two bad choices, two bad options, right? Neither option that we're going to like. Same thing with parole. Once you're in prison, you could choose to stay and do all your time. If you're offered parole, then it's a choice that you're making to take the offer for parole, come out and say, I will live by their rules. So then that's why I call it a choice.
So what's the choice of me coming home on probation or parole, and they still put an ankle monitor on my ankle?
So that's part of what you've given up, right? So
I'm
there's
giving
some
up.
constitutional rights that we have every day.
Mhm.
One of them being protection from warrantless searches. You always hear them say you're protected under the Constitution from unreasonable search and seizure. That's a phrase we hear all the time on TV, right? Meaning you can't just search my person, my house, my car just because you feel like it. When you agree to be on probation or parole,
Right.
you waive that right. And trust me when I tell you, you signed some type of document that says that you waived it. You signed release papers, you signed papers saying that you understand your probationary terms, but somewhere in the process, you're signing a paper that says, I'm waiving that right, meaning the probation or parole officer can show up to your place of residence and insist on coming in and searching your house. You've given that right up.
So this is my question, and I'm quite sure this is a question that you know, an outsider is gonna ask, right? So if I'm on probation or parole, right?
Yes.
And I live in a house with my family. The probation officer or the parole officer comes to the house. They can search the whole house, or they can just search the room I sleep in.
They're supposed to search the area that's yours, right? So the room you sleep in, but then you also got to consider that you have access to the general areas of the home. You have access to the living room, you have access to the kitchen, you have access to the bathroom. Maybe there's more than one bathroom, so maybe you don't have access to some bathrooms in the house, but the general areas, you know, if you have a family room, those type of things, you have access to that, even though you and I might live in a house together. So that's the problem with cohabitation or people living together. If you live with someone that's on probation, the common areas of the home and the probationer's specific areas can be searched without a warrant. And so now you're talking that it's dipping into the privacy and the rights of your loved ones that you live with. And again, it goes to choices, right? I'm not saying that these are fair choices whatsoever. It's not fair that we have to live this way. But somewhere in there, there's the choice that you have to make of if you're still going to live together, right? Because you need to know that when someone in your home is on probation or parole, some of your privacy is being waived as well, some of it. So I know that I had a teenager who got put on probation, and they were put on probation for substance abuse or possession of an illegal substance, and then obviously that had to do with substance abuse. And so while they were on probation, we were not allowed to have alcohol in our house because that's a standard term of probation whenever someone has a charge that has something to do with drugs or alcohol. So here I am as a whole adult, and I can't have a bottle of wine, I can't have a bottle of alcohol, I can't have any of that in my house because my child is on probation and my child still lives with me. So I had to pack up everything and remove it from my home. Fortunately, we just moved it to my office for the time that they were on probation. But those are some of the things that you give up. So important for family members, like you said, to know when they come to the door and they say, hey, is Dre here? I'm his probation officer and I'm coming in. Don't get caught up in that passive resistance we talked about where you're blocking the doors, you're not coming in my house, you need a warrant. Definitely ask some questions. Don't get me wrong. Definitely ask some questions and say, well, why do you need to come in? You know, what's going on? But if they don't give you a lot of information.
But if that's the parole address, right?
Right.
And you're on parole or probation,
Mm-hmm.
Do they have? Well, they have the right to enter the home because that's where your parole or probation is at, right?
They do. It has to be for a legitimate purpose, though. So they can't just come over,
They can't just
come in and just to harass you, right? They are not supposed to. I'm so leery these days about using the word can't, because it doesn't seem that the things that we can't do, it doesn't seem that people follow the rules. So saying can't,
it's kind of crazy.
It's not applicable anymore. So they're not supposed to. Doesn't mean that they won't, but in general, they're not supposed to. We're going to give the benefit of the doubt and say that's not what they're coming for. They need to be coming for to conduct a legitimate, what we call probationary or parole purpose investigation. So checking for drugs, checking for weapons, looking for stolen property because maybe someone has reported that they've seen you with some stolen property, or the police are doing an investigation and they think that you're involved because your name came up, that type of stuff. There needs to be a legitimate purpose. They can check us to see if you live there, though.
So let's clarify this part, right?
Yeah.
So it's a choice that's given and you take it, right?
Yeah, because you want to be
so
home.
That means that you give up your rights then, right?
Yes. These particular rights. Doesn't
Right,
mean
no.
you gave up all your rights.
No. I'm saying these particular rights, right?
Right.
So, but I've seen people that's on parole and probation and they're home, they go to work, they come back home, whatever they're doing, right? But if I'm doing that now, it's like, it's crazy now because now they're putting an ankle bracelet on you. Well, before they wasn't doing that. Why? My thing is, I'm asking you, why are they doing that now? Because people are fleeing. But you can still cut that off, or you can still find a way to take that thing off of you and leave it in the house, right?
You absolutely can.
I got a question concerning that.
Yeah.
So that is not a probation thing. That is a early release. Looking for probation, correct?
It can be both.
With the monitor.
So it can be both. So yeah, we see it a lot more as a bond condition. Bond conditions come before conviction. So like he said, an early release. However, there's so many reasons that they use these. And so thank you for bringing that back up, Dre, because you had already asked it. So yes, it's used for bond conditions. Most of the time when it's for bond conditions, it's a GPS monitor. They want to know your location. The reason they want to know that, maybe you're a high risk of fleeing, and so, but it would have been a really big hardship for you to pay an extremely high bond, so this is an alternative. You pay a lower bond, but you have an ankle bracelet, as we call it, so that they can keep track of your GPS location. It could be you still pay a high bond, but you have an ankle bracelet for GPS location because this is a violent crime that you're accused of. And so they want to make sure that the alleged victim feels safe and that the community feels safe with you being out on release. So by having your GPS location, they know if we said be home every night at 8 o'clock, or we said you're on house arrest, you could go home, but you have to be on house arrest, meaning you cannot leave the house without your probation.
Which is totally different.
Right. So that would be a reason for you to have an.
So they don't use it for parole or for probation.
They do.
They do?
They do use it for that as well, oftentimes for registered sex offenders.
Okay.
Because they want to know where they're at. So different states will use it for registered sex offenders for GPS purposes. Also, people who are on probation for things like drunk driving or serious crimes that have to do with alcohol. There are GPS monitors that also have a sensor in them that can determine whether or not you've been drinking.
Wow.
So we more often hear about people having to go and blow and do a breathalyzer once or twice a day.
Right.
But let's say they don't have the ability to get back and forth to the location where that's at. then they'll put a scram unit on you, is what we call it in Michigan, and that is a unit that can tell if you've been drinking, if there's alcohol in your system.
Oh, wow.
And so that way you don't have to run back and forth, but they still know if you're drinking. It will monitor that. So there's
And they
lots
also have them in cars. I've seen them in cars
the
where
things where you blow.
you have to
Yeah.
blow and then
The car won't start until you blow.
until you blow green. It
Blow
has to blow.
zeros. You gotta blow zeros.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta blow zeros.
And that's
So,
the
yeah.
only way it'll crank up.
Yeah. So, and that's a special ignition that they have to have put in if they want to continue driving. And that usually is put in by court order as well. But yeah, so the answer is that the ankle monitors can be used for many different reasons, both for bond conditions and for probation and parole, and just for monitoring the location of certain felons, certain convicted felons like sex offenders. Since we didn't really plan on talking about that so much, I don't know what the stats are in all the states across our country, but some states, their requirements are that you wear a lifetime monitor. So there are places where if you are a convicted sex offender on a certain tier, and it would be the highest tier, then you may have to wear a GPS monitor for the rest of your life in order to be out and about.
Wow, so you're already on the SOAR list
Yep,
and they monitoring you.
yep,
That's another show.
yep.
Ankle bracelets, that's another show.
Absolutely, that's another show. So, but yeah, so these are some of the rights that that you're giving up. The normal thing that we call the requirement for probable cause. Probable cause is a catchphrase we hear all the time. They gotta have probable cause to search. They gotta have probable cause to come in your house. Probable cause to pull you over. Probable cause. Probable cause. When you are on probation or parole, they don't need probable cause in many states. And in fact, in a lot of states, they don't even need reasonable suspicion, which is lower than probable cause. Reasonable suspicion is, I have reason to suspect you're doing something because we're in this neighborhood. You look like this. You're walking around in all black with your shiesty mask on, and it's 85 degrees outside. It's daytime, and so that could create reasonable suspicion in certain areas. Maybe there's an area where it's a high drug trafficking area, and you're hanging out on the corner dressed like that, and that could create reasonable suspicion, which is way lower than probable cause. But when you are on probation or parole, that's a right that you give up. It's a right that, so let's say they pull you over when you're on probation, and they run your information, it shows them you're on probation, they come back and say, can I search your car? And you say no. Guess what?
They can lock you up for that, right?
They could, but they could just search your car. They were just being nice.
By asking.
Yes. They were just being nice because you are on probation. They know that you don't have the same rights.
So at that moment, you have no rights at all. So is it worth coming out?
This is the whole point.
Is it worth coming up, or should you stay?
Right?
Because right now it's like a two-headed sword, right?
Right.
Because when you look at it, it's like, all right, so I'm home. That's where I want to be. But at any given time, let's say I get a parole officer or a probation officer that's, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say these things, that's a dick, right?
Could be.
And this person just has it out for me. So this person can come to my home anytime they feel like it.
They can.
Because they have that right.
They have the biggest thing that I see them do when it comes to those type of situations is they're doing a check for residency, right? Because what else I want to say about this is probation and parole are risky. They're risky moves because, for one, the first thing you're trying to decide as the person who's deciding if you want to be on probation or parole, can I follow the rules? How am I going to feel about them being controlling over my life? And what if those rules are things that I don't like, right? right? So can I follow those? Am I willing to? And am I capable of? Because not all of us are. That's why they do pre-sentencing reports to decide if you're a good candidate for probation. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, can we just be real for a minute?
Right.
While everybody says snitches get stitches, snitches are out there. And when I tell you, when you are on probation and parole, the things that people will tell on you is crazy. They might even have the same probation officer as you, and they go into a report and be like, hey, yo, I know you see me at, I saw you drive by when I was standing on the corner in front of such and such a store the other day, and I know I'm not supposed to be on that street as like a term of my probation, but did you know Nappy was over there too? They don't care because they want to get themselves out of trouble.
See, I'm glad you said that, because I had a situation a long time ago where actually Andre and our brother had a problem with a parolee, and he was on parole. And something happened where I was getting ready to really do something. Next day he goes to parole, and when I get home from work, he tells me his parole officer said to him, I heard your brother and such got into it last night and you were there.
Mm.
So
yeah. And how did he hear that? Because
from the parole officer.
Right, he heard it from the parole officer,
That
but
the other person.
somebody else went in
Right.
and said, and
Right.
you were there, right? And
Right.
wherever there was
Right.
probably someplace he wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what, the most crazy thing, I remember when I first started practicing criminal law, and there was this probation officer. She was tough. She was really tough. And
She didn't play no games.
she did not play games at all.
Mm.
And she was pregnant with twins and almost
Even
due
worse.
on Thanksgiving. And went in, the night before Thanksgiving is the biggest party night of the year. Next to like St. Patrick's. Biggest drinking and party night of the year.
Mm.
And so she went to the bar where all the people who were on her probation, that would be their spot, and rolled up in there pregnant as I don't know what, and they did a whole sweep the night before Thanksgiving. I don't know how many people ate turkey dinner at the county jail, but it was a whole lot. And they just walked up in there, because if you're on probation or parole, the first thing it's gonna say on your paperwork is you may not be anywhere where alcohol is served by the glass, the bottle, or the pitcher. People often ask, like, can I go to Applebee's? Can I go to restaurants where there's a bar in it? And I know most of the time the answer to that is that if the establishment's primary source of income is being a restaurant and not a bar, then usually it's okay. But you should always double check. Always ask your probation agent or parole agent what the rules are, what for your particular circumstances. But usually that's the answer. And sometimes, it may depend on where you live. There may be places that you feel like that place's primary thing is food and chicken wings. I know my husband says that the strip club's primary purpose is to serve him chicken wings. So he doesn't really say he don't go for the girls, he goes for the chicken wings. But to be real, that's
I must say,
chicken wings, don't they?
the strip club wings that they busted.
They busted. He's took me before.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
Strip
like,
club
just for the
wings
record,
is
in case
the truth.
Pastor and Bishop, in case you're watching, we don't go anymore. Nobody wants, but I'm just saying,
No, when I used to go to strip clubs, when I used to go to strip clubs, seriously, I used to go for the chicken wings.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about the woman in front of me. I wanted those chicken wings.
Yeah. And they know what they're doing because they want you to come in for the chicken wings because then you'll end up spending money on other things. But so that's an example of, I don't think you're going to be able to convince your probation officer that, the Lush strip club is there just for the primary purpose of serving chicken wings.
Right.
Even if that's what we believe, that's what we go for. It's not, you're not going to be able to convince them. But,
because with these ankle monitors, I'm sorry to bring
go
this
back
up.
to it.
With the ankle monitors, it's only so far you can go with them, right?
Yeah, they put GPS boundaries on it, and it actually will notify your probation officer or whoever's on call it will notify them if you go outside those boundaries or sometimes come inside of a boundary. So when they're like pre-release, when they're on bond and you put them on there, maybe it's like I said to keep someone safe. You're not allowed to go within 2 square miles of
That person's location.
That person's location,
Yeah.
their job, their house, their whatever. So so you have free reign all over the whole rest of your state.
Right.
But don't go within 2 square miles of where they work and where they live at. So the moment you come inside that boundary, it will alert. And now the technology is so quick that if I was listed as a victim or alleged victim, I'll get a text message the second you hit that boundary. And so will your probation officer or your pre-release supervisor. They will get a text message faster than your head can spin. And plus they know where you are. So it's not like they get the text message and now you've had time to get in and out, go back to your house and play stupid like it never happened. You're on a GPS.
So they already know
So they know
where
where you are. They know you're within a 2 square mile radius because you're dinging. So
and you can't be that stupid. For some people,
it's not. I don't think it's that they're so stupid as it is that they are that determined to have their
break the
way.
law.
Determined to have their way. So you're talking people who are charged with aggravated stalking, harassment, domestic violence, things like that, where they're just like, I'm going there anyway. I love them so much. I'm going. I'm going to be around them no matter what.
So, my question is, like, what do you call an officer, like a probation or parole officer, that never comes to check up on you?
Sometimes you don't have to. If you come out and you do everything you're supposed to, and when they come and check on you, this happened with me because my first time when I was incarcerated, when I got on a parole, he came to the house, he checked the house. I had a job, he came, he checked the job, gave me a curfew, he called a couple of times. I answered the phone while I was in the house doing curfew time. He let me be. He ain't come around no more.
Because he was a good
right, because I was a good parolee.
Good parolee.
Right, so you don't have to worry about it. Then you have the ones that they have to check up on you all the time because every time they call, you ain't home. Every time they come by, you ain't home.
And
you ain't got no job.
Comes in their office, your name is
right,
in their
and your
mouth.
name is in something.
And they said you were there.
Right.
And you're still,
right.
It's still being reported that you're associating with people who you shouldn't be associating with and those type of things. And so now, like I said, they're out. People are snitching. They are snitching.
For real.
And that's that part of snitching. Like, I believe that you should, when you see something, say something. When it's, someone's been harmed, you witnessed a crime, things like that. Snitching is when you just go in and you tell everything you know so that you can look like the good guy. And now you keep other people hemmed up. That's a whole different story.
Right.
That's a totally different story. But yeah, sometimes they don't have to. That's exactly what it is. Nancy, because you talked about when you were on parole, what do you think about how we described it at the top of the show about it's a choice, even though it's not a choice that we like to have to make? How do you feel about that?
For me, I made a good choice. There was a lot of guys that was locked up with me was like, I can't do that. It's a setup for me. They wanted to get out on a CR date. They wanted to come home, no parole. Yeah. Because they was probably going to do the same thing they did to get in there. You know what I'm saying? So y'all put the nail in the coffin with that for real.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. It's a choice.
It's a choice.
So you see, like some of those people chose to stay. So
that's crazy.
I'm not calling it a choice because I'm saying like, you chose this because you committed the crime. No, I'm saying it's a choice because there is another form of punishment for that crime that you could choose, and it's up to you to make that choice.
I wish they had ankle monitors back when I was, going through my stuff, because I probably would have not been in trouble the second time. Be honest with you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Because I got out and still had that ankle monitor on me and like, I can't do nothing. I'm not going through this. But when I had a little bit of freedom to move around, is when I got into things.
Yeah, my husband's a stalker.
Right.
So let's recap what we talked about today, because the time has gone. So we talked about, unfortunately, we talked about all of these recent hangings that have been going on, and that there have been 4 of them in the past year, and even 3 this month in August. Tasia Fortune, an unidentified young man, and then who was the young guy that it was just yesterday. Let me find his name again, so we can call him out. Demetrius Fleming, who they just found yesterday. These investigations are all still open and ongoing, and the manner of death hasn't been determined yet. So we're hoping that if there's foul play there, that those investigations come out on the right end.
Right.
And then we talked about today's tea, and that if you're on parole or probation,
follow the rules.
Follow the rules, guys. Follow the rules, because you have waived some of your rights to search and seizure, and so let's just be aware of that when we make that choice. And family members, be aware that if someone in your household is on parole or probation, they've made that choice. So I'm Lady Esper.
Ice Cold Dre the Game.
And we are
Legally Loaded.
See you next time. Yes, JC, that part. If you don't get yourself into a situation, none of it's a problem. That's right. 100%.